Thank you. How much time do I have? How much time do we have?
Just Saturday.
There you go.
Maybe I'll stand up about 12:40, 12:45.
Very cool, very cool, very cool. Great. Well, I have a $4 million budget, and we have to raise it all before we leave, so let's get started. All right. Thanks so much. I love seeing so many like-minded ministries, the lives that you touch. What an honor it is just to talk about how God actually gives us the privilege of using us. So coming on to my 40th year in ministry this year, nothing better than serving the homeless. Absolutely nothing better. Because I tell my residents, you teach me how it feels to really be home. You really do. I also tell our guests at Dallas Life, you're not homeless, you're houseless. This is your home. And until God decides what house you're going to get next, we'll just wait. When I think about homelessness, I don't think any who serve the most number of meals or the greatest number of beds at night wins anything. Right? There's plenty of healthy competition going around. We are doing our best to work ourselves out of a job. I have a feeling all of us will either die or see Christ before that we're even close to that accomplishment. The poor will always be with you. So I've deeply believed for decades it's the responsibility of the church to fix the problem of homelessness. Why are we surprised that the government does it poorly? They weren't called to fix it. They don't know how to do it. So we can't blame them for doing it wrongly. What we really need to admit is if all the churches did their jobs, none of us would be here. I remember a small mission in Lapeer, Michigan, where I was in Flint before coming to Dallas. And they called me, and they said, we have a great idea, and we would just like to get some insight from you. And this was their idea, and they followed it through. They bought 50 rolling cots, had 8 churches that committed to taking care of the homeless, and each church took 1 week. For that week, 2 people, male and female, would sit at a table all night long in the church fellowship hall while homeless people came in, got a shower, slept on those rolling carts, and they were fed a meal. The next morning, breakfast, and then they left. The end of the week, they wheeled the 50 rolling cots to the next church, and that church took it. Those 8 churches, every other month you would serve for a week, and Lapeer, Michigan has no shelter. Because that's how the churches do what they believe God's called them to do. So interesting. So interesting. So, you're called, I'm called. He always equips called people. He doesn't call necessarily people that are already equipped. He equips people that he calls. So we just plug into that. Thrilled to tell you this is Dallas Life's 70th year of operation. We'll have an open house in the fall celebrating that. And so at Dallas Life, there's a few different ways you can stay with us. One is pay to stay. You say you charge them. Life's not free. $15 a night. We're trying to encourage our folks that come in with jobs to learn how to pay a landlord regularly. When we're at full capacity, we have about 110 people in that program. Then we have, second to that, Homeless No More. It's absolutely free of charge for those with no source of income. It's really the thrust of what we do. We often average 175 in that program. There's 4 phases to it. I want to give you the specifics because if, as a result, you are interested in having Homeless No More in your shelter, I want to do what we can to make it happen. It is franchised into Raleigh Rescue Mission in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's in Covington, Kentucky. It's in Wisconsin. And in the next 6 weeks, it will be going to Carthage, Missouri, and Salisbury, Maryland. So, yeah, working with various shelters to get it out there. I want it out there. It's 10 months long. We have it divided into 4 phases. Phase 1 is 1 month. Phase 2 is 2 months. Phase 3 is 3 months. Phase 4 is 4 months. Phase 1, yellow bed ticket. You can't leave the campus. You can leave the building, but not the campus. You get no visitors. I don't expect you to be awake for Bible study and all of that because I know foreign substances are coming out of your body. Not going to spend $3 on a drug test to tell me what I already know. So I'll wait 30 days. After 30 days, if you test positive, now I know you used while you were with us. And now we're going to have a little come to Jesus meeting about how that happened since you couldn't leave the campus. So who's bringing you stuff? And all of that. So while wearing that yellow bed ticket, they're going to work either in food service or security or laundry. They will work 8 hours a day as part of their programming. We've done much research with the Department of Labor, who said that's perfectly legal and fine to do if it is part of your program. So the department head in charge of either food service, security, or upstairs laundry does weekly reports on how that Phase 1 resident is doing with their cognitive abilities, their emotive abilities, physical, spiritual, how they're getting along with people, all of that, and that's kept as Phase 1. Phase 2, now I know stuff's come out of your body all right already. You're awake, alert, and ready to go into the classes, which are the thrust of Homeless No More. I have 26 courses I have written for them on a discipleship level, saturated with the Word of God. Some of those classes are anger management. Doesn't every human being need that course? Psychology of addiction. We literally talk about axons and dendrites firing in the brain. What has the death of brain cells done to your mind's inability to remember things? But we know God will return what the locusts have eaten. So as we share scripture with them, they begin to see their mind come alive again. There's a course on effective parenting, how to not blame your child for your every bad decision, not to slap them unnecessarily just to get out your own frustration. We have classes on men's issues, women's issues, New Testament, godly man, godly woman. We talk about shopping and cooking for one person, how to not go to Arby's or Taco Bell all the time, but learn to shop, cook small amounts, store it well, how long does it last, that type of thing. We have classes on relationships. When are they toxic? At what point do you say, time for this to end? When are you giving way more in the relationship than you're getting? Who's using you for their advantage? We talk about financial well-being. In that, we talk about things like get a sofa today and pay no interest for 7 years. Well, by then, the butt mileage on your sofa is going to make it thrown in the trash. So why would you want to borrow on such advance notice? We talk about a 401k. When you leave here and you get a full-time job, you will get in the 401k because it is free money. Yes, you will. You'll learn to live on less, get on the 401k. What is a bank account? So when residents get to Phase 3, they work part-time outside the mission. Not more than part-time, just part-time. When they get to Phase 4, they transition to full-time. Well, in Phase 3, they have to save $25 a week. In Phase 4, they have to save $125 a week. When there's enough money in the safe to take them to the bank to get a CD, we do that. Get a 24-month CD. Now, you and I know the way banking is right now, you can tap into your 24-month CD and hardly lose anything. But we don't tell them that. And after they have another $1,000 saved up, we go and get them an 18-month CD. And after that, we encourage them to get a 12-month CD, just so their mind tells them, leave it alone. It's untouchable money. And so that's what we do with them. So Phase 2 classes. Effective Parenting on Friday is a well-attended class taught by Jacqueline Hampton, our DISD instructor who runs our daycare. We have a 4-star rated daycare that has 45 children in it at Dallas Life. Thrilled with the results of that, and we've just been approved for kindergarten starting 2 weeks from Monday, where they will pay us the $9,000 per child per year they would normally give the school, because we're teaching kindergarten in our 2 classrooms that have been approved for up to 12 children each. So that is very, very helpful as well. So the classes. So Phase 1, you wake up, you're a yellow bed ticket, you can't leave the property. Phase 2, you're getting counseling. I have 24 master's level counselors from Dallas Seminary having to get all their hours, and I found out yesterday Dallas Seminary is changing its counseling program. You no longer get licensed at only 300 hours. It will now take you 700 hours of counseling, which benefits me because we don't pay for our counselors. And they're there, and ever since we brought them on about 8 years ago under Josh Freeman, I mention his name because today he walks at DTS to get his PhD. Today he graduates. So he'll be our first PhD on staff. And Josh oversees the counseling. And so we have the 24 counselors. We have 13 counseling rooms, beautifully appointed. And so the counselor sees the same resident each week, and that makes the resident talk about the pain of their past, makes them stay longer, graduation rates go up. We love it. And so that's a wonderful thing. That happens also in phase 1 and 2. Phase 3, bed ticket changes to Cocoa Brown. Now it's time to find part-time work. You say maybe. I say yes, you will. Why? Because you're going to fill out 15 job applications every week, or bye, thanks for flying Sweeney Airlines. Because if you're not willing to go do that, you're not interested in long-term recovery. Everybody's hiring. It doesn't take them but a couple of days. All my phase 3 are working right now, every single one of them. In phase 3, you're also going to get a mentor. That's where I use my most highly respected volunteers because they're deep people of faith. I don't even advertise the need for mentors on the website because I don't want people to think we're a watered down big brother, big sister with a Bible study and a little bit of Jesus. Nope. It's a 90-minute commitment twice a month based on your schedule, not ours, because my residents are a captive audience and not going anywhere. So you schedule when you want to come in, mentor men, godly women mentor my young women, and as a result, great friendships are established and folks grow. So mentoring goes all through 3 months of phase 3, all 4 months of phase 4, and then mentors share at graduation often. Also, let's see, in phase 3, you're going to start looking for an outside church. So I was a pastor for years and years. During COVID, really concentrated on 12 very, very specific messages walking through the book of Acts so that our guests in our chapel know what a healthy church looks like. So we have Daniel Sullivan is our chaplain, graduate of Southwestern Seminary and Rice. And as a result, wonderful preacher, teacher, and we have some outside volunteers that come in as well. But they rotate those 12 messages that I wrote, starting with Matthias taking Judas's place, all the way to Paul giving his testimony before Agrippa. And so looking at that, they know what a healthy church looks like because there's 12 weeks in phase 1 and 2 combined. Then when they get to phase 3, they have 3 months to go visit churches all over the city. Here's what I ask of them. You'll bring me the bulletin and the sermon notes because the bulletin tells me you were there at the beginning and the sermon notes tell me you stayed to the end. So they come back to us, we read over them and look at them, put a little check mark, smiley face, put a sticker. They love stickers. They're as excited about stickers as my grandkids, and I get that. When you recognize somebody's successes, don't we all love a pat on the back? And so as a result of that, we track their progress. That's all through phase 3. And then phase 4, you're going to pick a church to join. It's got to be Bible believing. It's got to be evangelical. It's got to be Christ-centered, Christ only as the means to salvation. I'm fine if it's charismatic church. That's perfectly fine. But I want to make sure that their doctrine that they're learning in churches is as solid as the doctrine we gave them the first 2 phases of our program. All of my phase 4 people are working full-time. The only way you can get an application to work for me at Dallas Life is to graduate. We graduate twice a year, President's Day in February and the Thursday morning before Labor Day weekend, which is August 29. Why? Because they're 6 months apart, and they're holidays. The news media wants a feel-good story on a holiday, so they all come out. I get 3 or 4 stations, and anyone graduating that's Hispanic, Telemundo loves to come out and talk with them about that success. We love it as well. So we have a graduation coming up soon. Thrilled to tell you that out of my 80 employees, 32 of them graduated from Homeless No More. 2 of them run entire departments at 55, 60,000 and above. So it's not just minimum wage, it's solid employees that have great responsibility. So that's a very exciting thing for us. And so I go to conventions and speak about homelessness in our City Gate network. So Dallas Life's part of the City Gate network. There's 300 shelters. It covers every major and every secondary city in the United States. So there's a shelter in every one of those. So about 1,000 of us gather every year. We just came back from Lexington, Kentucky, where I have a double booth and spend about 20 minutes more than I am right now talking about Homeless No More and setting up Zoom calls with those groups. So if Homeless No More interests you, that you might be able to use it in your shelter, I'd like to talk with you about that. We would work on reducing the price to make it work for your shelter, so we could definitely address that. You can reach me at R. Sweeney, R for Robert, R. Sweeney, SWEENEY, at DallasLife.org, rsweeney@dallaslife.org. So I was just sharing with my friends from our calling here that one of the issues that I have faced over the 19 years at Dallas Life is deeply becoming close with a lot of business people who've sat in my office and said, Bob, we love what you do, but our corporate headquarters won't let us give to something that's so Christ-centered. You ever have anything that's religious but not so Christ-centered? Come and let me know. I thought about it for quite a while, and I thought, there's opportunities for corporate money who they lose money at the end of the year if they don't give money away. Is there something that I can introduce to them, emphasizing what Dallas Life does, that would appeal to all of the masses of people out there? And came up with something. I thought about children, homeless kids. Ugh, what child ever asked to be in a homeless shelter? They're there because somebody made a bad decision. So I wrote a book. My first two books are all about homelessness. My second one that I wrote is all about Homeless No More, really emphasizing traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, the issues facing our veterans, and the program I just told you about. But then one day, just really thinking about the kids, they come to Dallas Life, and I spent a lot of time talking to my 5-year-old granddaughter when I was writing this, and I said to her, what do you think is the biggest scary thing for kids that have to go to a homeless shelter? And she would say things like, they wouldn't know if you have a bed. And I'm thinking, of course we have beds, but that's a good 5-year-old perspective. What else would they worry about, Kylie? Do you have any toothbrushes? Interesting. So I wrote this book from the perspective of the teddy bear. So a dear friend of mine, Jennifer Bokey, did all of the illustrations. She's extremely talented. And before I finalized the illustrations with her, I went to a toy manufacturer so that I could find a bear who's child safe, eyes can't be removed, and all of that, and had the illustrations match the bear, because the bear really wrote the book. At Dallas Life, we put these bears and books on the bed of every child in the room before the child arrives. So basically, it's so not good. Okay, so it says, I've been waiting on this bed all day long. I want you to give me my name. It says you might have some questions because new things can be really, really hard, but I'm here. You're going to meet all different kinds of people that stay here. Your mom's going to make some friends. You might be here just a couple days. You might be here longer. You might wish you were in your own house, but this is really just like one big house. It's a safe place where we have beds and toothbrushes and food and everything that you need. You're going to go to sleep each night, and I want you to picture adventures that we're going to take together, because we're going to have so much fun. You're going to go to a school, even though it's different than the school you were used to. You'll meet new friends on the bus. And we have birthday parties every month, and everybody gets treats, and I love treats. And Mom will have someone to talk to, even if she's sad, so you don't have to worry about that, because one day you're going to leave this place, and you're going to take me with you, because we're buddies forever. But God wants to be your very closest friend. Then there's a coloring page, and there's a page written to the adult who sees this book. So this is what we've done. We've realized through marketing it and buying it in big enough quantities, it costs $50 for me to get the book printed, the bear bought, shrink, wrap it, ship it to any major or secondary city in America. $50. So we advertised that. I talked to my major donors, and they gave me $350,000. So I have 7,000 bears and books already paid for. In my building right now, I've got 7,000 books and 3,000 bears, only because we're waiting for another shipment of them to be ready from California. I say that to you because they're already paid for. I need to give them. How many of you interact with children that are homeless between 5 and 10 years of age? If you do, and you would like these, I need you to take the pad of paper on your table. I want your name, I want your email, your phone number, and the ministry you are with. Then I would like you to jot down a number of kids you are working with right now that could benefit from the bear in the book, and then average for me a guess of how many you would be able to touch in a year's time. I'd like those two numbers. I will call you. They're ready to go. I've already given 1,000 because places like Vogel Alcove, who we've worked with very closely with Karen Hughes over the years. Now we have our own daycare, but I went to Vogel Alcove, blue sweater, red sneakers, just like Mr. Rogers. I read the book to the children in the daycare. I have a staff member that comes with me and wears a full bodysuit costume of a bear. And you know, you may know this, I didn't know this. You know at Disney they say to all their princesses, you don't end the hug, the child ends the hug. Because who hugs the homeless child in our shelters? Staff's not even allowed unless they work in the daycare. Mom and the daycare worker are the only people that ever hug these kids. So these kids walk into a room where I have bears and books, and they see that teddy bear, they nearly tackle him to the ground. Now, he doesn't speak. He's got one of those things around his neck to try to keep him cool that's blowing all the time because he's got a headpiece and everything. They don't let him go. So I can't have the bear sit out there with the kids, or they won't even listen to me read the book. The bear has to sit behind me just to keep their attention. I read them the book, and then they all get to walk out with it, and I give Karen. We've gone to Vogel Alcove, we've gone to Family Gateway, we've gone to Austin Street, we've gone to Union Gospel. So we've given them a year's supply, and I have lots left. Lots left. Now, I am a fundraiser. It costs Dallas Life $32 to do all of that, and $18 goes into our endowment. If I give bears out to local people that come and pick them up from my shelter, or I deliver them, I save $13 shipping, and now Dallas Life makes $31 of the $50 to keep. It's all been paid for. It won't cost you a nickel. If you have kids and you can benefit from them, I want to get these bears and books out to you now. We're ready to do that now. So ways in which we may be able to work together. Homeless No More. Let me just say, in reference to Homeless No More, the shelters that do get my program get the giant giant notebook for the teacher and the giant notebook for the student. Every one of those 26 courses I told you about are all written the exact same way. Very simple. Read, review, and reflect. So I'll give you an example. Anger Management Lesson 1 talks about the HALT principle, H-A-L-T. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, you're more likely to blow up at somebody. So the resident in his or her room reads a page and a half of information about statistics on the HALT principle. I have a verse in there, I have a challenge in there. Then they go to the review, which is the next page. Fill in the blank on what you just read in that page and a half. They have to fill in the blank and they come to class. Myself or my staff or my outside volunteers who are leading the classes simply walk them through the fill in the blank. Now I have a banker that teaches financial well-being. I have a nutritionist that teaches shopping and cooking for one. Have my daycare specialist that teaches parenting 101. The others are taught by my staff. So then the staff member will be leading the conversation, get to the fill in the blank, and the residents will call out the answer, knowing that they have it done. And lastly is reflect. We have spiral notebooks. Right now we're using little notebooks that were provided for us by AT&T with their logo on the front. They're going to do a journal entry. Now there's 3 journal entries to pick from in every lesson. And the first one for HALT says, based upon what you learned today, the next time you're ready to be angry, are you prepared to ask yourself if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Write your thoughts. And I tell them, every journal entry must be 3 paragraphs of 3 sentences or more in each paragraph. Now they have the fill in the blank that's theirs forever. They have the journal entry that's theirs forever. You have no workbooks to ever buy. I'm not Netflix. I don't want to be into you for $13.99 a month. None of that. Those who get the program, you own all of it. You get every lesson on a zip drive. You get every lesson in the teacher's version and the student's version. You get every lesson downloadable from the web. You get 417 videos of me introducing everyone and closing out many of them talking with a resident who went through that class. Most of them are successes that even work with me now at Dallas Life. So it's a one-shot deal that people get it if they get that program. So if you're interested in that, on the sheet where you're giving me information about teddy bears, put homeless no more. If you're interested in that, that's what we'll talk about. Those shelters that are really interested, we set up a Zoom meeting where you take 2 or 3 people in your office that are the decision makers on things like this along with you. And we talk about exactly what I just shared with you, walk you through it, what does it cost, what's involved, all that. So love to see if we can help get that. I want to get it out in more places. So that gives you a lot of information about us. We average 100 pay to stay, 160 long-term program. And then we have an agreement with the Veterans Administration. Many of the shelters, like Salvation Army, so does Union Gospel. We have deals with the VA that they send people specifically to us. We have a contract for up to 34, I believe, right now, and most of them are filled most of the time. Some of the more exciting things I could tell you about Dallas Life that I love to address is that between our pay to stay, our convenience store, we have a convenience store that makes $500,000 a year. It has an app because we're right across the railroad tracks from the parole office and food stamp office. They have an app, they click, and they order lunch from our store, and we deliver it in a golf cart. And they pick one of 3 meals, $13 including tax, $13 flat for either a quesadilla, chips and a drink, a chef or chicken salad, chips and a drink, or a loaded burger, chips and a drink. And we drive it to their desk and bring it right into them. And so they're not only ordering lunch, they're ordering breakfast and sometimes a dinner meal to take home. So that's helping greatly. Between that, our pay to stay, our veterans, Dallas Life is right now bringing in 1/3 of our yearly budget in-house before we go to foundations, corporations, donors, churches, and all of that. Churches are struggling. Only 6% of our income comes from churches. Only 6%. Very interesting. Maybe you're also finding difficulty with pastors sitting down with you to have coffee or lunch because they think you want to be in their budget. They don't have any money to give you in their budget. So I say to a pastor, I'd like to have coffee with you, and I do not want to be in your budget. I just want to bring an idea to you. Then they're willing to talk. I bring the idea of the bear in the book and say, if I'm in your lobby with 20 bears and 20 books and 2 staff members that have the barcode that can be clicked, and they can sponsor 2 bears because they have 2 children, 6 bears because they have 6 grandchildren. If those grandkids are scattered throughout the country, so can the bears and books be. I'll be in and out. I don't want to be in your budget. I'm only giving them an opportunity to do it in the lobby of the church after. Pastors love that because I'm in, I'm out, one-shot deal, and they don't have to write me a check every month. So, opportunity. One of the things we do with our staff is give them the chance to raise, add one vacation day to their paychecks if they take a flyer about the teddy bear, which is already designed in one of those plastic loose sight frames. My target audience is women age 40 to 70 waiting for services to be rendered. So, daycares, doctors' offices, dentists' offices, chiropractors, nail salons, churches, and counseling centers. If a staff member gets it placed in one of those and they take a picture of the business card or the staff member that says you can put this in the waiting room, they get an extra vacation day up to 5 per year. So we have about 35 of these throughout the city right now. Eagle Scout Project comes to me and wants to do something. I say, you're supposed to use your whole troop, aren't you? Yes. You have to place 50 of these throughout the city of Dallas for us to say yes to that Eagle Scout Project. So lots of ways we can do to help raise awareness of that. And on that flyer, folks can simply with their phone take a picture of the code and then pay the $50 and then tell us what city to send this to. And there's information about the bear in the book on the flyer. So trying to reach out to kids, there's 2.5 million homeless children in America, 100 million worldwide. It'll keep me busy for a while. So between the Veterans Program and then lastly about the 70 to 100 children that live at Dallas Life with mom, a few just with dad, very rarely with mom and dad. You know those statistics. So our hearts go out to the kids. They go to local schools, Dunbar, Dade Middle, James Madison High School. The bus picks them up right in front of Dallas Life. So some of the challenges, I think it's a positive challenge. You know, in September it's scheduled, and they might be delayed now. They're scheduled to knock down the convention center. $2 billion, with a B, $2 billion project of a rebuild, but we're going to have a Clyde Warren Park right outside the door of Dallas Life, with the water fountains and the food trucks and the dog parks and the outdoor concerts. So what an opportunity for our residents to be there, picking up trash, wearing a vest, letting you know it's Dallas Life, because we're not going to be with homeless people from the street asking for money. We're going to be the homeless people there giving back. I can call across the street and say to a city council person, look out the window and look what's happening. So we do that from time to time, especially when a city council person says something that gets them in trouble. And we'll call and say, would you like a photo op to come over and serve lunch today? It would look great if you did that. And then I am a fundraiser. Come on. So yeah, we can make you look a whole lot better. Come on over. I think you're always walking that line of wanting to influence people for Christ more than anything else. Then you want to play in the sandbox with everybody until they shove sand down your throat. And you say, you know what? No thanks. Last thing I'll tell you, and then I'll take a couple questions and be done. We asked God for $12 million to do a remodel during COVID, and he gave us $13 million. And every single thing is paid for. We never shut down. We never went to a bank for a loan. Money came in and we spent it. Well, there were a number of sources out there that were able to grant us some tax credits. It was a process I learned from. If you know nothing of a tax credit, you're probably better off. If you know a whole lot about tax credits, you don't need me to inform. But let me tell you this. The Dallas Development Fund promised us $1 million. All along the way, they work with our companies and say, yeah, we're going to give you $1 million toward the process because, long story short, tax credits are bought by for-profit companies, but they must give them away to non-profit companies. We spend them. They look good for giving them to us, and then they're eligible for more, and they get a kickback. They waited to the day before the check was due. I remember it because it was the day before Valentine's Day, and they called me and said, Bob, we're ready to write the check. We just forgot one thing. Oh? You will change your definition of family for us to write this check, won't you? I said, did you bump your head? Are you dumb enough to think that I'm going to change my convictions for your money? No thanks, keep your money. I wrote an email to my board. God shut that door. Dallas Development Fund won't give us the money because we're not changing our convictions. And immediately a board member sent an email within 30 minutes. You know what? Add $1 million to my contribution. I'll make up for the difference. Thanks for standing firm. God always, money follows ministry. You do what you're supposed to do, God will fund it. God will fund it. So we just have some difficulty at times convincing people that they have to let go of some of their money. How much money is enough money? Really? How much money is enough money? But pray for your donors. Don't pray on your donors. There's so much we could learn in the whole nonprofit world, but it's a great privilege doing what we do. The homeless will always be with us. I think there's something we should learn from them while we try to help them. So, questions, things you might want to know. What am I leaving out? Couple minutes. Come on, Ed.
I get a daily newsletter online called Dallas Express. And it seems like there I was touting a San Antonio mission,
Yeah.
Hope Cottage or something along that
Yeah.
line, as the big solution for Dallas for our homeless problems. I've never been down to see the Hope Cottage, so I wonder if you know if you have some insight on how.
Yeah, haven't been down to see it. From what I've read, because I've spoken to a news reporter who's written so much on it, and then did a story on us talking a little bit about the comparisons. We know that as many people work in the homeless world, that's how many ideas there are as to what's the best way to address it. So whether people want to be known as the biggest or the best, let's just focus more on words like effective, caring, loving, and godly, and then let God determine what's in between. Because you don't have to plan on being the stellar one that gets all the attention. We're not supposed to be seeking the attention. So I do know that most of the programs that are touted out there as successful enough to try to promote them to other cities are non-Christian entities. So there's only so much I want to get involved with to begin with. Second, I don't like city programs because city programs just want to give with no skin in the game. So just recently, the Grants Pass thing, okay? Big deal with the Grants Pass thing. Dr. Phil called us and said, I want to put you on the show and talk about, what do you want to talk about? Well, I want to talk about the Grants Pass thing. I said, I'm open to do that, but we're going to do this, we're going to say this. And they were fine, and then 2 days before that, they decided to go political, and that's okay. We might get on, I'd rather get on someday about Teddy Cares and talk about Grants Pass. So Grants Pass people in Grants Pass, Oregon, if you didn't follow it, Supreme Court decision came down saying that since the apartments were so expensive in Grants Pass, Oregon, people began living on the street, saying we cannot afford to even get an apartment. Well, that bothered people in the city and government leaders saying, you're out on the street, you shouldn't be allowed to be on the street. Well, then it came down to what is the definition of what you should and shouldn't be allowed to do as a tax-paying citizen. Eventually, it went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says cities and states should be able to decide whether or not people can be in the downtown area of their cities. From my perspective, I understand the poor will always be with us. There's always going to be some people that say, I have a right to live outside. Okay. But I don't think you have a right to block the sidewalk of others going into their places of business, into the city halls, into the grocery stores by constantly being asked for 25 cents, 50 cents, can you buy me this, can you buy me that? So if cities want to say, yeah, there is an area we're going to let you be, we're not going to make it a political place where you're downtown interrupting lives of professional people. We'll put you in an area. Well, if you put people in an area, most cities want to bring them dumpsters, want to bring them services, want to bring them bottled water, want to bring them sandwiches, want to bring them blankets. I don't think that's how God intended any of us to live. I regularly say we don't have a single class at Dallas Life on self-esteem. Oprah would not be happy. We have classes on self-worth. Why did God make you? Why are we sucking up oxygen? What's my purpose of being here? Focus on that. Or why don't we recognize that homeless people lost every home they had before? Will they not habitually lose every free house we give them if they don't take on the ownership responsibility of that house? So skin in the game. Find out what causes it. Because, nationwide, here's what we see. Average person walking into a homeless shelter, if you ask them what they need, they want a job, check, car, apartment, or a woman to take them back. What's their issue? Drugs, alcohol, relationship, money issues, mental illness. How do you convince somebody that wants a job, check, car, apartment, or a woman that their issues, drugs, alcohol, relationships, money, and mental illness? It doesn't get fixed overnight. 30 days free of marijuana heals you from nothing. Nothing work. 30 days doesn't fix anything. We've all been on diets, right? Nothing fixes everything in 30 days. So it takes longer, more skin in the game, involvement, being out there talking with them, getting to know their stories, finding out how long have you been on the street. What are we going to do if you need to go into a place and you have this pet? How important is that pet? Can you afford that pet? All of those. What about the mental health issues? Can we get you in to see MetroCare? Are you willing to talk about your past? Are you willing to take medication? Are you going to sell your psychotropics, or are you going to take your anti-anxiety pills? All of that needs to be talked about. And those cities with those supposed success stories, they're not taking anything from a Christian perspective enough to make the long-term difference, because there's a spiritual element to recovery, y'all. We know it. And without it, they'll just go from my shelter to your shelter to your shelter to your shelter and continue that as a way of life. God didn't make them to do that with the oxygen that he wants them to live with. No way. Anything else? Come on.
What's your day in, day out biggest struggle, emotionally and spiritually?
Great question. Probably biggest struggle is convincing people that the money that they have is not all theirs. And beyond that, a great struggle is the hypocrisy with which we believers have been labeled because the poor choices of some. And as a result, that leads too many to prejudge the homeless, the homosexual, the single pregnant female. All of that needs to be addressed. If we only started to see each other the way God sees us. He only chooses to see the Christ when he looks at us. Why do we keep looking at everything but? Why? Yeah. We can't get along in our own churches. Why should the world want to follow after us? We can't. Isn't that just so heartbreaking? We can't get along in Christianity, and we're trying to tell everybody to come join the club. They don't want to pay those dues. It's too much. Life is hard enough. Hard enough. And now with the economy and the things people are facing, families, number one thing we're dealing with in homelessness, all of us. They're not coming to you in the onesies and the twosies. They're coming to you in the 8Cs and the 9Cs. That's how people are walking into shelters now, broken and out of everything. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
How does an individual actually begin to access these programs? Is there a long waiting list?
Great question. Right now, I'm the only shelter in all of Dallas with available beds. Now, that's because I have rules. You don't come in and tell me how you're living. We tell you. So they come into our intake, and they're going to get a clipboard, and my intake workers will walk them through it. Then we do a quick background check to make sure there's not a recent heinous felony preventing you from staying. Then they're going to watch 2 times a day. They put a video on the screen in the Welcome Center of me describing the 3 programs like I just did to you. For everyone gets a red bed ticket and 3 free nights of lodging before they determine pay to stay or program. Pay to stay, $15 a night. Program free of charge if you have no source of income. So I do have some others that refer right to us. Nexus refers right to us, working with Melody at Nexus. We have other shelters and outside organizations that will call us. So how's it looking? You have any openings for this? Here's what I've got. So I think a lot of the shelters in Dallas, we do a good job of knowing who takes who and who won't take. someone with a pet, someone with a sexual crime, you know, and so I think that's running smoothly. So we all know to play to each other's strengths. But people could walk in at any time. Our intake right now is from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., Monday through Friday. 9 to 2 is how we're doing it right now. Anything else? I think we're done. Thanks.